Hey, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of The Rock Experience with Mike Brunn. On this episode, Vincent LaRusso and I are going to share our experiences going to see the Gene Simmons band last week. He caught a show in New Jersey, and I caught one on Long Island. And while we had some similarities in our shows, there was definitely some differences as well. Did we like it? Were there things we'd want to change? We give our thoughts and our opinions. Alrighty, lots to cover in this episode. I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. So let's jump in and let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of The Rock Experience with Mike Brunn. Today, I have with me from destinations unknown, my buddy, my comrade, Mr. Vincent LaRusso. How you doing there, buddy?
Yeah, could you calm down this wind? Luckily, I have
Um,
enough product in my hair that you won't see it move.
I was going to say, your hair is not moving, the shirt is not moving. Something tells me you may not actually be on an island right now.
Yeah, I'm on an island. I'm just not gonna say what island I'm on.
Okay, there you go.
Normally, I'm on the island of Staten, but not right now.
Not right now. No, like I said, you're at destinations unknown, but
Yes.
I enjoy the joyous background, and it kind of makes me think about summer vacation and
Well, I'm trying to
summertime.
get people in the mood. We are approaching. I always say once the 4th of July hits, it's all over. It's like I feel like well, I don't mean
Wow.
it's all over. I don't mean it's all over. I'm just saying it's like this. The summer just flies from that point forward. It just, you know.
So what you maybe need to do is in our winter here in America, go to like Australia where it's the summer there. So you can just have summer 24/7,
No, I didn't realize
365.
that. That's
Yeah,
actually a good idea.
I know.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
yeah,
here for. I'm here for the good ideas.
yeah. That is true. I'm not going to deny that.
Thank you. Thank you, my friend. Well, we wanted to get together today to chat a little bit. I know over the last few episodes that we've done together, we both said that we may or may not go to see Gene Simmons. And ironically, we actually both ended up going to see Gene Simmons. I'll say in
Mm,
my case, I had an offer that was too good to refuse, and I'll just say it that way. And you had a little gift given to you from
hmm
the merry holidays, which allowed
hmm
us both to go to see Gene Simmons, albeit separately. So I know you and
hmm
I spoke a little bit about our experiences, more so after you went and less, I think, after I went. In fact, I don't even know if you and I spoke, face to face. I think we texted a little bit, but I don't think we've actually spoke since I went. But we figured we'd jump on here, talk a little bit about our experiences seeing Gene, and give our thoughts and opinions on that. So you go first, my friend. Which show did you attend?
I attended what I get it used to be called the Count Basie Theater in New Jersey, but now it's called the how's this thing called? The Meridian Life, this, that, or the other thing, the
Mhm.
Hackensack Meridian Health Theater.
Okay.
Once everything becomes,
Right.
I don't blame them. They got to get money, right?
Right. Of course. Yep.
So, what the first stadium or venue that took on been
Good
like
question.
this the like PNC Bank Arts
Right.
Center,
Yeah.
there's this and that, HSBC. I don't know what the first one was.
It's a
If
good
anybody knows,
question.
put it in the comments. I
That
mean, I
that'd
know I
be
could look this up, but it's more fun if somebody else
he
tells
doesn't
us,
want to look it up. He's on an island somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
He's gonna be surfing the waves in a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. Yeah, an island with the polo shirt on
That's
makes
right.
absolutely no sense.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Oh man.
yeah. All
But all right, so
right, so yeah,
that was New
yeah.
Jersey, right?
It was a week ago today, yes.
A week ago today. Okay.
Yes.
So tell me, what was your experience like seeing Gene in 2025?
Well, okay, and I'll try to make the start this as quickly as possible. Um, so I hadn't had the tickets, and I had gotten a gift certificate, so you had to buy it at the door. So when I went to and it was about a half hour and about 40 minutes before start time. It said 7:30, which I was like,
Right.
not
There's
gonna
going to be an
start at
opening
7:30.
band, blah, blah,
I
blah, blah,
know the
blah.
way this works, or I know you get in 7:30. I've been to this theater. They come out. Thank you for supporting the theater. Okay.
Right.
So, and I went with my girlfriend there. So, and I think she might have been more excited than me because she had never seen him. I've seen him and
She's seen Kiss, obviously.
so
She
a
saw Kiss
kiss.
with us.
She actually told me of an experience. She met Gene Simmons at a with her sister who does public relations, and she hung out with Gene for 15, 20 minutes, and
Hmm.
he was very, very nice. Kind of the Gene that we know is very friendly.
Hmm.
Super personable. Um, so looking at what was offered, the original, and I'll tell what the prices were. I had $250 gift, which I was like, oh, $250 definitely get in. I won't even
Right.
have to pay. I didn't
Right.
know what
Right.
the tickets were going for. I had a guess. So the first seats in the orchestra, which is the bottom floor, they're like, okay, and all right, you're gonna owe like $80. I'm like, wait a second, I already have 250. I'm gonna owe another 80. I was like, all right, what else you got?
Right.
And they're like, all right. So maybe it was in like the 10 rows back from where they said. And let's say the original seats were like mid orchestra section. So it wound up being $14 for the tickets. I was
Can't
like,
complain
okay, that's
about
good.
that. Right.
$14 out of pocket.
And you're saying you were like 10 rows from the stage.
No. The original one was maybe
Okay.
around 10 rows. This was maybe 20, 25. But it's a theater. You know what I
So,
mean?
right.
You know,
Absolutely.
it still was, you know.
Yep.
So we said, all right, we were starving. It was around 7 o'clock, looking for something quick to eat. We find a pizza place, wolfed down 2 slices, came back, and I'm like, oh man, you know me, I gotta have a snack. I want
Right.
pretzel, I want my pretzel.
Yes.
I gotta have like a
Oh, of course.
pretzel.
Yes.
So I go online for pretzel, pay, and all of a sudden I hear, I'm like, so I said, I think the show is starting. Literally, I'm walking in. And he had, at the beginning of Deuce, and Gene's like
Uh-huh.
mid slide. I'm
Mid
like,
bass
wow,
line. Right. Uh-huh.
7:30 on the dot. I couldn't believe it. Like,
Now, which is incredible because you were going for pizza at 7 o'clock, figuring you
yeah.
probably had until like
And
9 or something.
and a couple of we were like, oh, let's want to do Mexico, Cinco de Mayo, maybe. Then we
Mhm.
walked in. It's too crowded. Good thing we did that because
Wow.
totally would have probably missed the first half hour.
Wow.
So that was the experience of the beginning of the
So
show.
he
And
started at 7:30 at your show,
yes, 7:30.
which is crazy because actually in my show it started at 9 o'clock.
Well, there was no opener. I
Okay.
think you said there was an opener
There
for
was an
your,
opener for us.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
So I was, and quite honestly, I didn't know there wasn't any opener. So I was kind of happy. I'm like, all right, good. I'm
Right.
getting old. I want to be in bed by fucking 10 o'clock at this point.
Uh-huh.
Oh, Frankie, it's Monday. Yeah. So he starts the show, he opens up with Deuce and then goes into Shout Out Loud. And I'm noticing right away there's a pacing going on, in my opinion. He's talking
Okay.
a lot.
Really, right from the
He's
top?
he's talking a lot. He was having some problems with the monitor. There was
Mm.
sound, his bass. He's making fun of the sound guy. It sounds like
Okay.
this may be his sound guy. I don't know if you had that same experience where he was
No,
picking on a sound guy.
no, not that I
Well,
recall.
maybe then he knew the sound guys because probably knowing Gene, he probably said, "What's your name?" And
Right.
because he's using it as
Right.
as banter, he's using it as Tony
Tony
Banter.
Bantha.
Yeah. So he's a couple of that going on, and he's talking. He goes into it. Then he talks about "Are you?" I was going to do "Are You Ready?" was the third song, which was a nice, you don't ever hear that at a Kiss show. And he's
Yep.
he's telling the audience, to sing. I want you to sing this part. So he tries to do the whole thing with that. Then to War Machine, but there's a lot of talking going on,
Wow. Okay.
and I'm just like, wow, this is. So he goes to War Machine, and I have a lot. So the first 5 songs are Deuce, Shout Out Loud, Are You Ready, War Machine, and I Love It Loud. Okay,
Hmm.
pretty good. I'm pretty happy. And then he starts talking about I discovered this little band called Van Halen. He tells the story how he was at
Right.
this place and he heard this, and I heard this thing and the whole thing about that and how he did their demo and that he was going to do a song called House of Pain, which Van Halen has a House of Pain on one of the record, but there's a different House of Pain. There's a different house where you have pain. You know what I
Right.
mean?
And
And they
it's not
have
a completely different house, I'll just say.
but it's different aspirin that you get when
Yes.
you go there,
Different
right?
aspirin, exactly.
Different aspirin, right? I know Mario is going to appreciate the aspirin part.
I'm sure he will.
So, um, so and it's a good song, And
Mhm.
I had known going in, maybe in talking to you, that he was doing some covers.
Right.
I knew he was doing Ace of Spades, but I didn't know if he was doing the show. There was a break in the tour. So
Yep.
I was like, is this going to be? I hadn't checked the set list. I wasn't checking to see. I kind of wanted to be surprised. So he does House of Pain. And then he starts talking about Lemmy and this whole thing. And I'm like, okay, there's been a lot of talking going on. And now there's two covers. I'm like, this is interesting.
Hmm.
I saw him with you at least twice, maybe three times. We saw him in Philly, we saw him in Cleveland. Those were great shows.
Yep.
He was doing stuff off his solo album. He would do stuff like Charisma, which we'll get to that. It was a great show. It was one of the best shows I think we saw as a
Hmm.
Kiss product, right?
Yes, agreed.
So then he does the Ace of Spades. Now he's going to do the band intro and a jam. If somebody had a hammer and nails that could hammer through my hands, I think that would. I mean, it was just
Uh,
like, all right, why am I hearing a drum solo?
right.
Why am I hearing guitar solos? What is this?
Yep.
This is not what I want at all. And you and I have talked about a week or so ago about drum solos. Like, I was never a big fan of these things. I'd rather hear two or three more songs. Now, this solo jam thing lasted a good 10 minutes, I think.
Now, did Gene introduce it like as a blues jam and that they didn't have to
Yes,
rehearse? Okay.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
because he did the same thing at my show.
Yeah. So, and I'm like, okay, talking a lot, cover songs, jam. Why is this happening? There's
Hmm.
got to be. He's no disrespect. He's not lazy Ace. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Hmm.
Gene is hard worker. Gene is the type of guy when he does a meet and greet for whatever or one of his things. I know with you,
Yep.
where he was doing what was it? A lesson with Gene. Oh, write a song with Gene. He
Yep.
did the whole entire day.
Yep.
We know the guy puts in
The
his
guy's
time.
work ethic is second
He's
to none.
right. He's not somebody who's like, okay, I won't mention somebody. Okay,
Right.
I'm done with this. I'll walk up. Yeah. So he does this jam, and I literally now I have my foot issue, and I'm on incline. I sat down for the whole thing. I couldn't
Right.
even see it. I heard it. I waited for it to be over. Good playing. Listen, Brian
Mhm.
Tishy, whatever his name, is great drummer. The guitar players,
Yep.
great vocalists. They
Yep.
both sang. Okay. So then Gene's like, all right, enough of the talking. Then he made it a point to say, enough with the talking. Now we're gonna play. We're gonna play. And he went into Parasite. And then after that, he's like, oh, you don't want to hear me talk. So obviously he was aware that he had to do this. This is how I saw it. But he
Hmm.
was letting everybody know, okay, that's done. I'm not gonna be talking a
Right.
lot. So he does Parasite after that. Great song. Your favorite after that, Cold Gin. Right?
Hmm.
Then he does Bad Reputation. But then Lizzie comes. I'm like, oh God, again?
Another
Now,
cover.
admittingly, I'm not a huge Thin Lizzy fan, and I'm not even sure if I remember. Maybe he said it. You're sure? I'm not even sure why he picked this song. I understood why. Oh, with the Ace of Spades, I was like, come on, this is a song for Gene to sing with his voice.
Right. Of course.
I'm like,
Of
why is
course.
he not singing this? And it
Agreed.
was great. I mean, never been a big Motorhead fan, but how could you not enjoy that song? Just the
Agreed.
raw energy of it, and the band played it great.
I did. Hmm.
So now they do Bad Reputation. I'm just like, this is just I'm not even understanding why this song is being chosen.
Right.
Okay. Um, and then after that, he did Charisma. Now this is the 12th song in. That's including the jams. Charisma into Spit, which he was saying, Bob Ezra, and my friends I called it shit. So
Hmm.
he had everybody, and including themselves, that don't mean shit to me, which was kind of fun. Now
Hmm.
I had always thought, even back then, I need a whole lot of woman. I was thinking back then, I was like, I want a whole lot of love. So
Hmm.
ironically, they went into whole lot of love, which another cover song.
Right. Hmm.
Now, it wasn't even like just the end of Whole Lot of Love. It was like felt like three-quarters of the song.
Yep.
Great performance. Kind of cool hearing Gene Simmons doing Whole Lot of Love, but he wasn't singing it.
Right.
That would have been really cool.
Right.
Imagine Gene doing Whole Lot of Love. He
Although
had his good.
I don't know if Gene can pull off a whole lot of
I
love.
don't know, but it still would have been
I
much.
agree
I
with
would
you
have
with
been
the
like,
Motorhead. I'm not sure if he could pull off Robert Plant.
I'm just saying, it would have been more excusable for me for him
Right.
to be doing another
Understandable.
cover.
Yep.
But at this point, we're talking four covers and a blues jam and solos.
Hmm.
I mean, even if every song took 4 minutes and the jam wasn't 4 minutes,
Right.
I mean, you do the math there.
Yep.
And now, he starts talking about the Beatles. Now, you know me, huge Beatle fan.
Yep.
And the song that he covered is something I've covered before. Now you're on cover number what?
Four or five at this point, right?
Right, exactly.
Hmm.
And I'm just like, wow, this is a lot of cover songs.
Right.
To which they ended with Calling Dr. Love, Gotta Do Calling Dr. Love, and Rock and Roll All Night. And when he did Rock and Roll All Night, when we saw him, he tries to get, all the girls. In
Yeah.
this particular, he got like four. I think when we went one time, he had like 17 people on the stage.
Yeah. There's a ton of people.
Guys,
Yeah.
yeah. He was actually struggling. And admittingly, too, I should mention that this was not a sold out show. Even in the row I was in, there was a lot of empty seats. Although when you looked in front of you, it looked,
Right.
but the ratio to men to women, because I think there was on I Love It Loud, he was like, all right, guys go, and the
Yeah.
guys did that was really loud. And then when the girls did it, it was like,
Uh-huh.
wow, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's totally dominated by men, the testosterone level.
Right.
So I've said a lot. Of course, I'm keeping everything in perspective. How many more times am I going to be able to see these guys or this guy? So no matter what, I'm not going to say, oh, I was disappointed. Was I disappointed? Yes. But I also keep it in perspective. Like, I got to be thankful that, and Gene was, again, 72 years old. He's hopping around. He's very youthful. He's very funny. You know what I mean? He's become the most, which everyone, Gene's the asshole. Gene is this. To me, he's the most personable guy in Kiss. What do they call him? What does he call himself? Uncle Gene? What does he call
Uncle Gene.
himself?
Yep.
Yeah, Uncle
Gene.
Gene.
Yep.
Truly, to me, I love his personality, and it's almost hate to even say anything negative about the show. But I got to be honest when it comes to all these covers. So I'm going to bring it to you.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna pause you because you've now
Yeah,
spoken as much as Gene did at the show.
I know. Well, you asked. You asked me
Oh, I
a
did. No,
question.
no, no,
Yeah,
and that was good. So, I mean,
yeah.
to me, if I'm taking what you just said and summarizing it, it sounds like A, Setlist disappointed you, and B, Gene doing a lot of talking was a drain on the show for you, and then obviously the solo. So it sounds like it was almost like three strikes against the show, in my opinion. Sounds like you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting is you said the first half of the show for you, Gene did a lot of talking, and then he was like, "Oh, we're going to stop talking. We're going to play for you," or something like that. In my show, it was almost the opposite.
Hmm.
So the set list at my show was the same songs basically, but a slightly different sequence. So whereas you said it was Deuce, Shout Out Loud, and then Are You Ready was the third song, for us,
Yeah.
Charisma was the third song,
Hmm.
which
Yeah.
surprised me. I was like,
I'm looking at your list, and I
yeah,
see this also. Yeah.
yeah. So a Moni Moni was, I mean, it's a little tiny snippet. So if you're looking at that, I mean, it was literally like 30 seconds or less of that. So I don't even
Hmm.
count that as a song. But definitely the sequencing of what you just said was definitely a little bit changed around. And I'll say the first hour of the show for
Hmm.
me,
I see where this is going.
I was like, wow, this is far more enjoyable than I was expecting it to be. Yeah, there's a little bit of talking, and especially with I Love It Loud, he took a few fans up on stage, and I was like, all right, come on, let's get to it. But overall, it was really good. And I'm like, wow, all right, for all the complaints about cover tunes and pacing, because I've heard other fans complain about that, I'm like, this is good. This is really good. And then after Spit, which led into, like you said, Whole Lot of Love, that's when the blues jam started. And I knew that was going to happen. I was like, all right, come on, let's just get this over with. Then from there, he went into Ace of Spades. Then from there, he went into Boring Gin for me. And it's funny because there was a guy next to me that was aware of it and watches the podcast. And he's like, hey, Mike, your favorite song, your favorite song. And then from there, it went into yet two more covers. And at that point, the show just lost every ounce of momentum for me. It was a good half hour, 40 minutes of just basically straight cover tunes with the exception of Cold Gin. And a lot of talking was taking place. And even my daughter who was with me was like, when's he going to shut up? It's like enough is
Hmm.
enough. It just, the whole second half of the show, the momentum just was killed. And I saw somebody else say this, anytime the momentum of the show, and I think he was at the Paramount show that I was at, anytime the momentum of the show picked up, Gene kind of crushed it by talking for a while. But I think the part that bothered me more than anything is twice during the show, he took fans up on stage. Now, okay, you want to do that? You want to make it a little bit more interactive for some of the fans there? He did that in 2017, 18 when we saw him, but it was quick. He's like, I want 10 guys up on stage. I want 10. And then that's 10
Hmm.
people bum rush the stage. And the first 10 that made it, those are the ones that were up on stage. Before Rock and Roll All Night, he wanted to have his, 10 fans up on stage, and he's handpicking them one at a time out of the crowd. I don't know if he did this with you. He's like,
Hmm.
I want you to come up. And then the person would have to make their way up on stage, and he's looking around, I want you to come up. it literally took, I think, about 10 minutes to get these fans up on stage.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just like, okay, enough. Now, the show that I went to was, I think, just a smidge over 2 hours, actually. Okay, so it was actually a 2 hour show, but he spent 10, 15 minutes bringing fans up on stage before Rock and Roll All Night and then before I Love It Loud. And I was just like, enough with the friggin' wasting time. If you want to have fans on stage, I don't love it, but if you want to, fine. Just say, hey, first 10 fans up on stage right now. Come on, join me. And then you have security say, that's it, enough. Like he did, 5, 6, 7 years ago, whatever it was. This handpicking one at a time was torture. I don't
Well,
know how else to say it. It was torture.
yeah, and like I said, my show total was an hour and 45, so it sounds like I got a break, thank
Yeah,
God.
you
Because
did. Mine,
15
mine
more
was
months.
2 hours. Mine was 2 hours. Now I'll say this: I thought the band sounded absolutely incredible. The sounds of like the whole mix of the show, whoever was responsible for that, the
Hmm.
way the band sounded phenomenal. Absolutely. I mean, when the show started with Deuce, I was like, and then Shout Out Loud and Charisma, I was like, they just sound incredible. And they went into Are You Ready? I'm like, yeah, I'm loving it. I was really having a really good time. And beforehand, I texted you like 2, 3 hours beforehand. I'm like, you know what? If I didn't have such a good deal with this tonight, I don't know that I'd be going. I want to just sit on my couch. And then when I was there that first half hour, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I'm here. And then even House of Pain, when he did that, I'm like, all right, I'm enjoying this. And I could certainly
Hmm.
appreciate why Gene is doing that. And but that second half, even Spit into a Whole Lot of Love, I thought was fun. To me, it was the highlight of the show. I happen to love the song Spit. It's one of my favorite songs on Revenge. And then morphing it into a Whole Lot of Love, I was totally cool with that. But the second half of the show, just for me, the whole air in the room, just like Gene took it out. I don't know how else to say it. I
Yeah.
do believe, just my suspicion, nobody's ever told me this officially. I do believe Gene is required to do a certain percentage of non-Kiss songs, which is why he's doing 4 or 5 cover tunes. I suspect that there's something contractually that says he has to do that because it's just so different than what he's done
Yeah, it
previously.
doesn't make sense. It
It
doesn't
doesn't
make
make
sense.
sense. It doesn't make
Or
sense at
how
all.
are you not doing Christine 16?
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
this is such obvious choices that are not in the set, you know? I mean,
Exactly. Exactly. But now I think the part that disappoints me with this tour, and I knew this going in, and I'll say what you said earlier. Those 2017, 2018 shows from Gene were some of the best Kiss related concerts I've ever seen in my life. And one of the things I loved about that was that every time I saw him, the set list was different. And I
hmm.
credit really the guys that was in his band at the time because they'd come in for sound check during the day and they'd be like jamming on Ladies Room. And Gene would be like, oh, that's cool. Let's do that tonight.
Hmm.
This is just a static set list, which I understand. I'm only seeing one show. I get that. And, every town, you're seeing it for the first time. But I loved last time he was doing a tour that on any given night, you didn't know what deep cuts were going to be in the set list.
Hmm.
Now it's like, all right, Charisma is great. It's cool. It was, again, one of the highlights to me. He did that in 2017 when I saw him multiple times as well. Spit was great. But everything else was kind of standard if he has to do a certain level of covers on a nightly basis. And let's assume that that's why he's doing it, right? Then do you really need to every single night do Calling Dr. Love, Wall Machine, Shout It Out Loud? I mean, could you mix those Cold Jane? Can you mix those up a
Well,
little bit? you know?
I mean, let's just go. We went to I'll just quickly read this off the Cleveland show we went to. Let's
Go ahead.
compare
Yeah.
this out. We've named all the songs. Open with Radioactive, Deuce, Nothing to Lose, Dr. Love, Almost Human, Cold Gin, Love It Loud, Got Love for Sale, Parasite, Plasticaster, Charisma, See You Tonight, Christine 16, Johnny Be Good, one cover, War Machine, Let Me Go Rock and Roll Night. I mean, that is,
And Johnny Be
and
Good was in the
yeah,
set list because
yeah, because
who was it? Who sang that originally? Chuck Berry?
Chuck, Chuck
Chuck
Berry.
Berry. Yeah, thank you. All of a
Yeah,
sudden I had a brain fart. Chuck
yeah,
Berry, I think, had passed away that day, if I remember right.
right. And that's 17 songs,
Right.
let's say 16 Kiss songs,
Mhm.
you know, no solos, but listen to Almost Human, Nothing to Lose, Got Love for Sale, Plasticaster, Radioactive, See You
Yeah.
Tonight. I mean, that if that's the only show,
Right.
forget about, if
Yeah.
that's the only show, um, I don't know. And I know like even Shout Out Loud's a great song, don't get me wrong, and he sings half of it. It's
Mhm.
like when I go see Ace, which I don't want to hear Love Gun.
Right.
I don't want to hear Detroit Rock City. I
Mhm.
want to hear, you know, um, help me out here. Help me out here. I covered the song.
Ace,
What? Yeah, I covered the
Save Your
song.
Love.
Save Your Love. Thank you.
Mhm.
Or Hard Times or
Right.
whatever. You know
Of
what I
course.
mean?
Right. Right.
I mean, so and then we saw him in June in Philadelphia, right? Soon
Mhm.
thereafter. Did he do anything different in that? I'm just checking. Sweet and Dirty
Yes.
Love.
He
He
did
did
Sweet and
Sweet and
Dirty
Dirty.
Love. Yep. Mhm.
Right. He did Domino.
Yep.
Um, and then he did a couple of Rice Pudding, Jeff Beck cover, Boom Boom, John Lee Hook. I don't know.
Yep.
But Do You Love Me? Which I don't know why he would do that song. That's one I would be like, and probably give it to one of the guys to sing, obviously.
Yes. Yep.
But again, Sweet and Dirty Love, Got Love for Sale, to your point, he was doing different songs. You could say Do You Love Me? That was a real
And
cool
now
tour.
look up Lynn, Lynn, Massachusetts in
What year was
2018.
that?
2018. I think it was
2018?
February 16th-ish of
Okay, let's
2018.
see. Let's see. Let's see how close you are, Cigar Man.
Cigar
February
man.
February 16th. All right. So you went.
That's scary, right?
Yeah.
Now read off that set list.
Yeah. Do shout out loud. Are you ready? Parasite. Calling Doc Love. Do you love me? Almost human. Long tall Sally. Little Richard Come. I help. The Beatles. Great. I love it loud. War Machine. Strutter. Sweet Pain. She's so European and Charisma. And then Encore. It's My Life and Rock and Roll Night. I mean, this is
Right.
that's a. I mean, not
And
only would
that
it
was the
be.
first time you ever did Are You Ready, if I remember
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It was the first time you ever performed It's My Life, right? She's So European. I think that was the first time you ever performed it at that show. I always say that Lynn show to me was one of my top 10 concerts ever.
Thanks
Um,
for the invite.
no problem. Strutta was with Gary Cherone from
Yeah.
Extreme, right? So
Yeah.
it just, and that's what I mean. So you just rattled off three different set lists from Gene in 2017 and 2018, and each one of them had a few different nuggets in it. And that's where I'm like, all right,
Nuggets like that.
you
Couple
like
of different
that?
nuggets.
Little
Yeah.
nuggets. That's
Yeah.
where I'm like, all right, let's assume for a moment that Gene has to do, for whatever reason, some cover tunes in the set, right? Maybe that's part of this deal with Pop House. I have no idea, but let's assume maybe it is. Um, at least mix up the other songs and don't give me all the War Machines and the Cold Gins every night. Mix it up where you're playing some of those deeper cuts. As much as I love Parasite, and it was, again, it's probably one of my favorite Kiss songs, maybe top 5 Kiss song of all time. It's okay to mix that up. It's okay to me. Like I don't need to see Gene doing that every night. So I think that to me is where I get disappointed, is that the set list is just so static and it feels a little stale to me. Of
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, we could only give our opinions based on what we've seen and
course.
heard before.
Yeah.
And I think any, Kiss fan is going to probably side with what we're saying
I
if
think
you
so.
really do the comparison.
Yeah.
I don't know of anybody who I would ask and say, would you want to hear like Paul do a show or Gene or Ace, and they're going to do 5 covers in one night,
Right.
including one of the 5 being, well, the band's going to do solos and all that stuff. Who? I don't want that,
No,
you know?
I agree. I agree. And that's no
So,
disrespect to the guys in the bands who I thought they played, they were phenomenal. They sounded great,
yeah,
but I'm there to see Gene. And if you have to do all these covers, I also don't need 10 minutes of solos. That's just my opinion.
absolutely.
Now at your
Absolutely.
show, I picked up on this and I thought it was, I don't know, maybe a little hypocritical is the best word to say. Did Gene make a point of saying during the show, oh, everything is live. There's no keyboards.
Mm,
There's no singer backstage. There's no tapes. I'm like,
you should keep
yeesh.
quiet. You should keep
Yeah.
quiet.
I'm like, Gene, really? Really, Gene?
You should keep quiet on that one.
I wondered if that was a little dig at a certain somebody that he used to perform with. I don't know. The
Either
comment
way,
struck
it's
me
not
odd.
smart.
Yeah.
Either way, it's not smart. You're exposing your product. So
Yeah.
I disagree with him. I
Yeah.
don't know what his motivation other than say him thinking and forgetting, like, well, listen how great this band is. We're not having any, blah blah blah.
Right.
Like, okay, that's cool to say. If you weren't in your previous band,
Right. If the last 5 years hadn't
when
taken place.
right,
Right.
right, we're
Mhm.
clearly, you know, I'm not gonna say how or where, but I've heard soundboard recordings where you have, the Detroit Rocksteady, 1, 2, 3, what
Right.
they hear in their ears,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So they know what song's coming. There's a count, everything is timed,
Yep.
and there are definitely and it's such commonplace. Listen, even the cover scene now, I know a band, I won't mention names, they lost their keyboard player, and I was like, oh, I wonder what they're gonna do. And now I hear they're doing all the keyboard tracks, you know what I mean? I'm just like,
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd rather kind of make it your own
Agreed.
with that one less thing, it's just, and I was watching something recently, trying to remember what it was. And I was like, and it might have been like mid 80s. And clearly it was like backing vocals and stuff that was like piped in. So
Mm-hmm.
this is going back a long time
Sure.
ago. Let's not think that this is like a
It's
new
not a
thing.
new
The
phenomenon.
the only thing that's really new, and it's a significant new thing, is the auto tune.
Right.
You go back and you watch old concerts, you go back and you watch midnight specials from the 70s. I was watching Blondie, which is one of my favorite
Mhm.
artists, and she's doing like hanging on the telephone, and she's doing uh what you call it, dreaming. And
Mhm.
clearly you hear it's live. Clearly you hear she's a little pitchy, but
Mhm.
there's a certain charm to it. You know
Agreed.
what I mean?
Agreed.
You know, back in the day when it was American Bandstand or Soul Train, whatever, those were lip sync shows.
Right.
Okay. All
Mhm.
right. But to hear it like with that, humanness to it. And now you watch every award show, everything. Why is everybody all of a sudden everybody can sing
Agreed.
perfectly?
Agreed.
Come
No,
on
agreed.
now,
And look, I'll say this. That's one of the things that I did like about the Gene show. I didn't need him to tell me that it was all live. I could tell, right? So,
Yeah.
and I enjoyed that aspect of it. And I thought, Gene, for being 70 plus years old, still sounds great. And like you said before, he's got a ton of energy. His voice still sounds great. So that's one of the things I actually really enjoyed about the show.
He was a little lazy though. He was a little lazy. I love
Really?
it loud. He didn't do the bass though. He didn't do the bass thing every
Oh,
time.
okay.
Did he do it
Okay.
on your show?
I think he did. Yeah, if I believe so.
I sent it to you. He sort of did it the first one.
Hmm.
Then the last three times he had to do it, didn't do it. I said, come on, Gene.
No,
Come on, don't.
I think even during Cold Gin, there was a few like little bass slides that he
Well, he
does
did.
now.
The first one, it's cold, Gin. Boom.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, that he
So,
did do.
and that does add to my enjoyment of that song, I will
It
say.
does. How could you not? Yeah. No, that one he did. But I was like, because I was getting the camera ready to send it to you, and I think I sent you the first one, which wasn't the
Mhm.
full
Right, right,
whatever
right.
the hell he did.
Yeah,
He
yeah, yeah.
kind of halved it. Then afterward, he didn't play it. I'm like, oh, come on, Gene,
Right,
don't
right.
ace it. Please don't ace it. You
Don't,
know?
don't ace it. No, that's true. And look, I'll also say this. One of the things that I enjoy about going to these shows still sometimes is that like before the show began, I'm walking in, I'm waiting for my daughter, and I run into Billy and Lisa, and we're hanging out talking for 20, 25 minutes. Um, that to me is part of the fun of going to these things as well as just kind of getting to hang with people. See, there was other people I wanted to see that I just wasn't able to see and unfortunately couldn't run into some people. I go into my seats and I'm running into people I know and I'm talking for a few moments. So to me, that's part of the fun with this also. Um, I just wish there was a different set list more than anything. That's it.
Well, it looks like I had it better than you, quite honestly, because if the second set was half was like yours, I think it would have felt a lot worse.
Well, I hate to
Oh,
say this. I know people who left during the,
really?
yeah, I know people who left. Mhm. At least two that I'm aware of that left
Wow.
during the last like third of the show. They were like, all right, enough of this. I know he's going to close with Dr. Love and Rock and Roll All Night. These are all covers. I'm out of here.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Mhm.
the front end of the set list was jam packed to me. It was great. It was great. But it kind of tails off in the second half. So now let me ask you this. Just this last week, Ace played on Long Island. I did not go. If you look at the two set lists, Ace and
Yes,
Gene, do you
which I
have a
did do.
preference?
From what I could bring it up again, but from what I remember, I preferred Ace's set list. From what I remember,
Wow. All right, let me see.
I got to let's put it up again, and if you want to bring it up and then read them
Yeah,
off to
yeah,
me,
yeah, I have it. I have it
read
over
me off.
here. All right,
Okay,
ready,
good.
ready, here we go. Shock
How many
Me,
songs? How many songs first off?
14.
That's a little rough. That's two right off the bat. Well, he did solos and bullshit, but good.
Well, yeah, 14 songs. So the set list is Shock Me. I'm just looking at the one he played on Long Island. Shock Me, Deuce, Cherry Medicine, Rock Soldiers, Love Gun, Rocket Ride, Parasite, Detroit Rock City, Rip It Out, She, New York Groove, Cold Gin, Shout Out Loud, Rock and Roll All Night.
That's tough.
Now, what's funny is I'm looking at this and one, so Deuce, Parasite, Cold Gin, Shout Out Loud, Rock and Roll All Night, 5 songs overlap where they both played them.
And now the dry rub is he did Rip It Out, he did Rock Soldiers, he did New York Groove. What else?
She,
She,
Rocket Ride.
Rocket Ride.
Yeah.
If I'm going by songs alone, the 5 overlap. I don't know. I think I'm going to
This
tend to
is
like.
interesting because you start off saying, damn, no ways. And now you're really, really struggling.
Well, no, that was didn't know that was going to be the question, but
Hmm.
just my excitement to see Ace.
Right.
There's a caveat to that, but I love Rip It Out. I love Rocket Ride's a great song. Um, the Rock Soldiers is a lot of fun to hear. And now I'm thinking, all right, so then Gene did Charisma. I'm trying to without the
Right.
fun, the
Hmm.
Charisma, Spit. Um, Help me out. Are you
Are you ready?
ready?
Hmm. Those are
So
like the
those three,
three.
three versus three, I'm going to take the Ace songs on that. You
Hmm.
know, in
Hmm.
my opinion. So that's why I think I lean a little bit more towards Ace's set list
Interesting. I'd probably still choose jeans only because I've
of
seen
Charisma.
Ace. I've seen Ace do those songs so many times. I've seen Ace,
Yeah,
whatever it is, 20, 25 times over the years. And he's done those songs at basically every single show I've ever been at. Right. So,
yeah,
whereas while I've seen Gene do Charisma once or twice, it's not like I've seen that dozens of times. And I've never seen him do Spit. So, and I've only seen him do Are You Ready one other time in the past. So I'll take the songs I haven't seen as much over the songs that maybe I like better, but I've seen on a regular basis.
right. And I haven't seen Ace dearly as much as you have,
Right.
so that's
Right.
why I feel differently. But I'm just going by song choices and quality.
Yeah, no, I
You
can
know,
understand that. I can understand that. And look, I wish the Gene show, instead of being 2 hours, if it was an hour and a half, and again, I'm going to just assume he has to do covers because it's the only thing that makes sense to me is that if he has to. Um, so if the show was an hour and a half and he cut out the solos and some of the talking, it would have been a rock star. I don't even know if the covers wouldn't have bothered me probably that
mm,
much. But when you
yeah.
add in the solos and you add in the talking and you add in taking in 10 minutes to
I
get
can't
somebody
believe
up on
how
stage,
I can't believe that. I
it,
mean, he
it
took a
was it
little bit
was
of
torture.
time.
It was torture. It
Yeah,
was like, come on, Gene, what are you doing? Let's go.
yeah.
Um, when you add all of those things in, it just really brings the show to a grinding halt. And at least when you see Ace, it's really one song after the other after the other. He might talk for a minute in between songs, but it's a standard concert format. It's not all this blabbering. So
Hmm.
that's the thing is if Gene has to do these cover tunes, just cut out all the other stuff. I don't think people there were enjoying it, to be quite honest. Maybe one time you want to talk for a little bit and goof off a little bit, fine, but not for 15, 20 minutes. It just in
No.
total over the night. Just it was a drag to me. Now, saying that, I know last week he did an interview and he said, which was a weird comment, the weird way to say it, that he might bring his solo band at the Vegas event for, I think he said for kicks and giggles or something like that, or for shits and giggles. For shits and
Like,
giggles. And I'm like, all right, that's a weird comment to make. Like I might just bring him along for shits and giggles. My instant thought was he's subtly trying to say his solo band will play at that Vegas event. And if they do, I'll go. And if he plays twice at the Vegas event, I'll go both times. So
hmm.
I want to make sure that I'm clear on that. Especially
He
if
also
it's
said a
already
couple other things about that show, like it's not going to be a band show, and
yeah, it was
it's going
his
to be more
whole
like just an opportunity to meet the fans. And I'm
yeah.
thinking, I was like, look, you
Oh,
got
that's
so
it.
excited about it.
Yeah,
I looked at my
really.
wallet. I opened my wallet. I'm like, thank God you're all still here. You know,
Well,
yeah.
look, and I made it no
And that
secret.
doesn't mean that's going to happen.
Right. I was
We
gonna
know we
say I've
don't.
made it no secret that I've been part of those
Excuse me.
conversations with Pop House prior to the event being announced. And I'm not sure exactly what Gene was trying to accomplish in that interview. I'm not saying it's going to be a standard Kiss show, but I do think it's going to be a concert. Like Gene's whole comments just were a little bizarre to
Bad.
me. Yeah. Oh, and he was like,
Especially when he's got tickets available
yeah,
that you still need to
exactly.
sell. Like,
Exactly. And he was like, Bruce may come to Vegas. And like, no, no, Bruce has already been announced. What does he
yeah,
say? He may come. He's been announced, and it's been announced he's going to perform with Kiss.
yeah.
So just the whole Gene thing. Look, I said this to you as well. Gene sometimes before the Kiss cruises would say things in interviews that ended up not being accurate, not being true. So I took Gene's interview with a huge grain of salt and said, all right, Gene's just being Gene. He doesn't know. He's on the road right now. He doesn't know what he's talking about. For him to be saying Bruce may or may not come when it's already been announced that Bruce is going to perform with Kiss is just kind of like, that tells you all you need to know that Gene's a little bit out of the loop with this. It
Yeah,
was just a very weird interview he gave. Very weird. But
I agree.
my point to bring this up is he did kind of allude to the fact that his solo band would be there. And if they are, I'll go see them,
Oh, of
and
course. Yeah.
hopefully they fine tune the show a little bit. He does a little less talking, but I'll still go. I just I just wish it was a little bit more trim some of the fat is the best way for me to say it.
Yeah, yeah. I still had a good time. Don't get me wrong. Like I
Mhm.
said, for me, again, show starts at 7:30, done by 9:15. Being an old cranky bastard, I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah,
I didn't get that extra 15 minutes of lulling people onto the stage and all that other crap.
right, right. Yeah, my
So
show started at 9. It ended, I think, a couple of minutes after 11 or right at 11. I'll say right at
wow,
11 o'clock. So whereas you were in your bed at 11 o'clock, I was still
yeah,
in the theater at 11.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but yeah, it was, look, still a good time. I hung out with my daughter for the night also. She was with me. We went to the show. She had a lot of same comments about Gene talking. She's like, shut up already, Gene, but it's always good just to even hang out with my daughter for the evening and go to a show. So from that point of view, I was happy. But we'll see. It'll be curious to see if he actually does do the Vegas thing.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody would ask me, would you go again? I got tickets for like this week. I wouldn't. I probably wouldn't go. I was hoping that it would be like when we went to see him in Cleveland, we're like, oh
Right.
yeah, we'll go see him in Philly. Like it was
Hmm.
like the show was that good. I don't have that same feel after watching
So if
this.
somebody said to you Friday night, hey, Vin, I got a free ticket. You want to come with me?
If it's I know there's a theater in Staten Island and it's a
Uh-huh.
20-minute drive. Yeah,
Right.
I would probably go.
Right.
Just for a fun night out.
Right. But you're not
As
driving
I always
Philly
say,
like we did.
no, or I'm
Right.
not. I'm
Agreed.
probably not driving to Jersey. I'm not. All right, I'll put it this way. I'm not paying a toll. Okay, I'm
Okay.
not going to Long Island.
You
I'm
don't
not
need more
going to
than
New
$5
Jersey.
gas.
Right, exactly. So that's the caveat.
Yeah.
But then again, I was talking to my brother about this. Because I'm like, I have no desire really to see Ace right now. But if Ace said this is going to be my last set of shows, definitely I'm done. Then I would go see him for a last time.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
definitely would.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I said before I ran into Billy and Lisa, and I was saying to them that the last time I saw Ace was the night that I ran into them and you got into Kiss Unmasked because of it.
Oh, is that who you went to go
Yeah.
see?
Yeah.
Oh my
That
God,
I
yeah.
was at the Ace show that night, and that was the last time I saw Ace, which was what, 2 or 3 years ago at this point.
See how worthwhile that show was?
Yes, it was. It
Yeah.
was. And that was another one that was literally day of. And I got a ticket the morning of for that show.
Hmm.
So but I'm with you. I think if Ace said, hey, this is my last shows I'm doing,
Yeah.
I would go. And also in the back of my mind would be, was it really going to be his last shows? Because everybody who says they're doing the last show doesn't follow through. But you said it at the start of this, and we'll wrap up with this. These guys are getting up there in age, and as much
Yeah.
as Gene still has the energy and all, um, I do every time I leave now. I'm like, could have that been the last time I saw Ace, Gene, whoever it is? Last 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we saw Peter, and I'm like, could that be the last time I see Peter perform? It could be.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
with all of them, you don't know, but it's kind of amazing to think about in 2025, in a matter of 3 weeks here in the New York City area, Peter Criss performed, Ace Frehley performed, and Gene Simmons performed. Three of the
Yeah.
four original Kiss members. Who would have thought in 1977 that in 2025 these guys would still be around performing in New York concerts, of whatever capacity it is, right? So that to me is incredible. And while there are aspects of the show I did not enjoy, or I should say I didn't like, I would want to change. I'm still thankful that they're out there and able to do it.
Oh, I don't disagree with you at all.
Yeah. Yep. So I'll be curious to see as we wrap this up now. Anybody who's watching, listening, if you guys went to the show, what did you think of the set list? I'm sure you guys have comments about all the covers. Um, What did you think of the show? Was there a lot of talking in the show? Did they take 20 minutes to bring people up on stage? I'd love to hear what your show was like. What are you going to say, Vincent?
Well, you usually ask me, is there anything else I want to say? And you mentioned
Yes.
covers, and this is going to be my shameless plug.
Okay, here we go. The shameless plug
Shameless
by
plug.
Mr. Vincent LaRussa.
We've talked about it.
Yes, yes.
We've talked about the release of this Kiss album that's coming out by the Hooligans. Yes, it's the Hooligans.
Hmm.
The album's called Roll Over and Rock. I started to put out a couple of teasers. If you're not my friend on Facebook, I invite you to friend me on Facebook because there you can get a preview. We've released three
Three.
songs. I had to
Three.
count. We've done 3 songs. Strutter,
Maybe by the
Dr.
time
Love.
this comes out, the fourth one will be out.
That's right. Strutter, Dr. Love, and All American Man just got released last Friday. I welcome people to go friend me on Facebook. I like having friends. Friends are fun.
Yes. He needs more friends than just
I
me.
need more friends. I need more friends. Friend me on Facebook so you can go and check it out. We have a couple more weeks of this activity. The first record's going to be 13 songs. The second record's going to be 13 songs. So we got a lot of songs coming ahead. So that's my shameless plug.
Yes.
But
And
once I could act,
you do have deep cuts,
a
80s,
lot of deep cuts.
70s.
A lot of deep cuts.
Yes, exactly. So there's a little bit little taste of something for everybody.
Yes.
Indeed. Well, I'm glad you brought that up. And yes, please friend him on Facebook. Maybe he'll leave me alone for a little bit.
That's hurtful.
I
But
know
I'll let it go.
Well, look, you're the one sitting there on an island.
I'm completely stress-free right now
Good. Like
for multiple reasons.
I like to hear that, my friend. Of course, the whole time we're doing this podcast, I'm just singing the Weezer song "Islands in the Sun," which has nothing to do with our podcast. So maybe next time you should have had like a Gene Simmons type of background,
That's true.
something
Or have
with
Gil
something with blood.
or have the SS Minnow pull in right into the palm tree.
That's right.
Gilligan goes flying out.
So now this has absolutely nothing to do with the podcast. I was just reading something last week that the boat that they use, the SS Minnow, I forget what it said. Like it can only go something like 20 miles before it runs out of gas or something like that.
Well, it's so funny. Yesterday it was Mother's Day, and me and my brother, in intermission of food and festivities, put on Gilligan's Island. I'm like, man, did Ginger bring a lot of outfits?
Yeah, really.
And what is she walking around with, like evening wear?
Exactly.
And where did they had all these different. They're playing miniature golf. I'm like, where'd these clubs come from? Like, boy, they brought a lot of. It's so like far-fetched.
If we poke at it, you could just blow the whole show up, right?
But it's just so funny. It's such a silly. What do they call it? A guilty pleasure, just to still watch
it. The professor could fix everything under the sun except for the boat.
and that radio never ran out of batteries.
Exactly. Exactly. But anyway, yeah, that's yes. Next time I want the SS Minnow coming behind you over there.
Let's see if I can make that happen.
All right. Well, on that note, like I was saying, I'm curious to see and read what everybody said about their show that they went to. Did you maybe not go because of some of the things that you've seen online? And do you regret not going? Are you happy that you didn't go? But if you did go, we'd certainly like to hear what your show was like. And we look forward to all the feedback. As always, all opinions are welcome, as long as you're respectful. If you act like a jerk online, the comments can be... And I'm saying that because I don't know what's happened in the last month or two, especially on my Facebook page. It's just...
Really?
The crazies have come out. The crazies have come out big time. And it's like... every day. Again, I don't mind somebody saying, hey, I went to the Gene show and I didn't like it. You and I just gave our pros and cons on the show, right? We were very honest. It's another thing to be like, Gene's a effing this and a this, and you're very vulgar and just like over the top. It's like, just be respectful. That's all I ask.
All right, I'll talk to my family, tell them to back off a little bit.
All right, yes, please do so. Please do so. But all right, on that note, everybody, as always, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. And
oh yeah.
All righty, there you have it. Our thoughts and our opinions on the 2025 Gene Simmons solo tour. We look forward to reading and seeing your comments as well. As I said on the show, all opinions are welcome as long as you keep it respectful. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button below. If you're listening to one of my podcasts, subscribe over there as well. Also, head on over to Facebook and follow my page, The Rock Experience with Mike Brunn, where each and every day we talk about all the rock and roll music that you love. You could also follow me on Instagram and Twitter as well. That's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you all next time.